Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. Like Pastor Mark said, I'm stoked to be here. I need to be transparent with you. I'm actually not a pastor, but I am a certified UBCD, which stands for Unaccredited Bible College Dropout. I feel like they tell you not to talk about how you're unqualified to do something before you speak, but I'm just going to lean into that this morning. I feel like every pastor has like a special power of Derek's a firefighter, Pastor Shalise is like an assistant principal and she's really rad, and Pastor Mark's like a musician, and I just have this uncanny ability of being in places I'm not qualified to be in. I saw this tweet, I don't know if the picture's up there, but yeah, sweet. It says, my wife is so much better looking than me that the cashier just put a plastic divider down the middle of our groceries. This actually happened to me, and when it happened, I was like, this is to be expected. That's what I'm here to do today, is so hopefully nobody puts a plastic divider in between me and you. But excited to be here and just to talk about what I've been, praying through and praying for you as I was asked to preach this morning. We're in this season of Lent, and I was just praying, God, what do you want to say? What are things in my life that you are calling out and are like, hey, this is the plastic divider between you and me that you need to remove so that you can experience me in a way that maybe you haven't in a while. And the thing that kept coming up as I was praying through this was fear. I'm 34 years old. The world is scary. I think you turn on the news right now, it's frightening, right? You're going to lose your job. You're going to die because you ate this wrong thing. It's the list kind of compiles, right? And I feel like what we've done as adults is we just got really good at hiding that, right? And, I have a daughter, and I found that she's not very good at hiding that, which is a good thing, right? Because it's I should probably take notes from you. We just switched Violet over to a big girl bed. So she went from her crib to this big girl bed. And it's really beneficial for us because I don't have to get up at 3 a.m. to take her to the bathroom, right? She can just get up and go. But she's kind of found a way to manipulate it by getting up to go 5 or 6 times, in the first 20 minutes of me putting her down. And one night I came in and she was just I'm scared, Daddy. Can you be with me? And she was like, can we ask Jesus to be in my heart? So she's so afraid. Not only is she going to the bathroom 20 times, but she's asking Jesus to be in her heart again. So, but we do this, right? We do this. We are so afraid that we reach for things in our lives to help justify the situation, to help control the situation. That fear causes us to do a ton of funny things. And I felt that's what the Lord was pressing into me. Hey, this is the thing that you are doing that you need to give up. And so I was looking through the Bible, and I think that today where I want to kind of camp out in is in Matthew chapter 14, 22 to 33. Now, before we actually hop into the text, I wanted to give you a little bit of context of what has happened, and then we'll actually pick up right over there, right? So for some key background, it's been 400 years since God has spoken to the children of Israel. So it's been silent, right? So that 400 years is broken once John the Baptist shows up. John the Baptist is baptizing people, and then Jesus comes, right? And Jesus is healing people, right? He's healing lepers, he's doing all these amazing things. And as he's going from town to town, people are following him, right? They're I had leprosy, now I have fingers again. And then people are that's wild. And they just kind of follow Jesus as he's going, right? And in the ministry is so wild at the moment that Jesus is hey, we actually have to go and take a break. Let's actually take some time and rest. Let's actually have a sabbatical, right? And as they're leaving, there's they turn around, there's 5,000 people watching them. And Jesus is like, oh, well, we should probably feed these people, right? We actually see that in Mark chapter 6, verse 32. It says, so they left the boat for a quiet place, and they came to be alone. But many people recognized them and saw them leaving. And people from many towns ran ahead along the shore and got ahead of them. And Jesus saw the huge crowd as he stepped off the boat, and he had compassion on them because they were sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. So if you had checked out from the sermon, this is the one note I want you to know today before we get started, is that this is the heart of God for you, right? Like you might think, oh God, you don't have time for me. You're actually going on your vacation. But the reality is when he looks at you, he's like, I have compassion for you. I love you. I want to feed you. I want to have a meal with you. I want to care for you. That is like the heart of God. So wherever you are in your walk with the Lord today, maybe you came in, you like barely got here, like that is what you need to know this morning, is that like that is how God views you, that is how God thinks of you, and that is how God desires to care for you. So we know the story, right? Jesus like then feeds these 5,000 people. It's very indicative of like, if you're Filipino, like a Filipino party, you just like, your plate's empty and then it's full again, right? So it's like not really, it's like a normal thing. Yeah, I seem unshaken because it's happened so many times. And so Jesus like feeds these 5,000 people, he sends them off, and then now we pick up in Matthew chapter 14. So I'm going to go ahead and read that for us, right? And it says, immediately after this, Jesus insisted that his disciples get back into the boat and cross to the other side of the lake. And while he sent the people home, and after sending them home, he went up on the hill by himself to pray. Night fell while he was alone. And meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble, far away from the land, for a strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came towards them walking on the water. So Jesus goes and prays, right? He goes up there and spends time with his Father. He tells the disciples to go cross the lake, and he's like, I'm going to meet you there. And sure enough, like, they're fighting with the wind and the waves, right? And so that picture there, struggling, in Mark chapter 8, it actually uses the word, like, straining. The word in the Greek for that actually is a picture of torture, right? So, like, they're actually being tortured by the wind and the waves. Like, these are professional fishermen. Right? You have people, like, a third of the disciples are professional fishermen who've spent most of their life on this lake, and they are struggling, right? Like the picture there for torture is actually like the picture of a touchstone. Back in the day, you would take like, if you're like, I need to validate that this is real gold, you would grind your real gold on the touchstone and then the gold in question on that touchstone. And like the material would be on the rock and you would verify like, oh, like, hey, this is real. But that action of grinding and like torturing is like what the disciples were essentially feeling at that moment, just being crushed by these waves, right? And I don't know, I think when I was reading this, a couple of things stood out to me. Jesus, it says in Mark, right? It says that Jesus actually looked out and saw them. Right? So Jesus is like, I see that you're struggling, right? And then I think what's also amazing is that the thing that was so difficult for these men to deal with, the thing that was grinding them, the thing that was torturing them, the fear that these men were feeling, right? Like, can you imagine, like, I'm supposed to be really good at this, and it's killing me? Like, that feeling, the thing that they've been struggling with, Jesus just casually walks on top of it. And it's like, what? Like, I have been struggling with this fear for so long, and it is so easy for you. And not only is it like so easy for you, you see me when I'm in my struggle. You see me when I'm floundering. Like that's, like what a comfort that is. So, I mean, I don't know what you're what you're feeling in this moment, but I feel like that's something you need to know. You're allowed to be fearful. That's valid. You're allowed to be tired and scared. Absolutely valid. Jesus sees that. And he walks on top of that, right? You actually read in the book of Mark that it says that he was actually going to pass them on their boat. Like that's how easy it was. Like the guys on a walk, these guys are like had been on the water for hours, and he's just like, "Oh, what's up? Oh, I almost missed you." Like, you know what I mean? Like That is literally like just how in control he is in the midst of our struggle, in the midst of our fear, in the midst of our pain. So let's go back to the text. So it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. Jesus comes toward them walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified in their fear. They cried out, "It's a ghost." But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage, I am here." Then Peter called to him, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you, walking on the water." "Yes, come," Jesus said. So Peter went over the side of the boat and walked on the water towards Jesus. So I think this picture is first of all, kind of hilarious, right? It's already bad. It's like, man, we're probably going to die here. And then they look out into the water and there's a ghost. So not only am I going to drown, but there is a ghost who's either going to watch me or help in the process, right? And Jesus, again, in control of the situation, is like, hey, don't worry. It's actually me. Take courage. And Peter is like, hey, if that's really you, call me out onto the water. I feel like when we talk about Peter, we don't give him enough credit. I feel like when I read this, the assumption was, he's just being really brash again. And I feel like if we stick to that assumption, we're robbed of what Peter actually was doing, right? I think it's really clear throughout the scriptures that Peter actually really loved Jesus, truly, truly loved Jesus. When Jesus was transfigured on the mountain, he was like, "This is it for me. We're going to build houses here. I love you so much. This is the best it's ever going to be for me," right? Jesus is washing his feet, and he's like, "Lord, this is below you." He's like, "Hey, if I don't wash your feet, you have no part in me." He's like, "Give me a bath. Just bathe me in it. I want to Peter truly, truly loved Jesus. Truly was when he denied him, he was the last disciple to leave the courtyard. That's how much he loved him, right? So I feel let's take that into account when we look at what Peter's doing, right? And my observation of what's happening, Peter's like, "Hey, I've been in this boat getting crushed. It is safer on these waves with you than me in this box of safety that I think is supposed to save me. My skills have failed me, my strength has failed me, but it's far better for me to be with you in the waves than it is to be here alone in this boat." Right? So Peter literally, what Pastor Mark was talking about, points out the noise, the sound of the waves, the sight of the waves, to look at Jesus and say, "If that's you, I'm listening, call me out." And what does he do? He gets out onto the waves, right? And say what you want about him falling, who else walked on water? That's pretty wild, right? I feel he sank. It's did you walk on water? I know when you were a kid, you put your foot in the pool, and you're like, "Am I going to do it?" And it's and then you just sink through. And Peter walked on the water, right? Literally walked on the water. And I think that's what God has to offer us. When we're struggling with our fears, when we say, "You know what? It is safer with you on the waves than in this box of safety that I've created for myself," we experience Jesus in a way that nobody else is going to experience him like. And that's the call, I think, of Lent, is for us to give up those things we're holding on to, that we might experience Jesus in that way. So here in verse 30, it says, "But when he saw the strong wind and waves, he was terrified and began to sink. 'Save me, Lord,' he shouted. And Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. 'You have so little faith,' Jesus said. 'Why have you doubted me?' When they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. Then the disciples worshiped him. 'You really are the Son of God,' they exclaimed." So first of all, I want to clarify a couple things here, right? I feel like when I read this, your first gut reaction is "Yo, that's kind of mean." You were there, you saw the waves, right? Like we're kind of inferring some tone here that I don't actually think exists, right? I don't actually think is true, right? Whether like, you might have an authority figure speak to you like that, right? That's not how I think actually Jesus is talking to Peter, right? We read in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 14 through 16, it says this: "Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God. Let us hold fast to this confession. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weakness, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we might receive mercy and find grace to help in the time of need." I love that it says he can empathize, sympathize, right? Like there's nothing special about that word in Greek. It's literally sympathize, right? Like it's like Jesus knew what Peter was feeling. He's like, I know because I've felt fear. I know because I also am in the same frame that you are. I understand why you're fearful. So I don't think Jesus is like, why were you afraid? Here, I have a picture, right? I was literally writing this sermon, and Violet is doing her nightly 20 walks to the bathroom. And I go in, and I'm like, honey, what's wrong? And she's like, Daddy, I'm afraid of the shadows. Can you pray with me? And so I sit there with her, and I hold her, and I say, honey, like, I can see you in the monitor. Mommy and Daddy are here. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. You don't have to be afraid. Like, I see you. She's like, you see me? I was like, yeah. Can you check on me before you go to bed? I'm like, yes, I can. And I believe that's the tone that Jesus speaks to Peter in. It's not, hey, why were you afraid? No, he's like, hey, like, why were you afraid? I have you. You have nothing to be fearful of. Like just as a father talks to his child. That is how Jesus spoke to Peter. I don't say that to disvalidate your fears. I actually say that to validate your fears, right? Like your fears are legitimate. And Jesus legitimizes them because he sees like, hey, like I'm the one who's actually supposed to carry that for you. I'm the one who's supposed to hold you in those moments, right? So in this season of Lent, I want to challenge you to consider letting go of the things you're fearful of. Letting go of the things that are holding you back, the things you're seeking to control, and offload those things onto Jesus, right? And you're like, I don't know how to believe. That seems like really tough. Things are really scary. Like, let me remind you, like, that faith, that little faith of a mustard seed that Peter had allowed him to actually walk on water, right? And it wasn't because of his strength. It was because of Jesus. He offloaded those fears onto him, that trust onto him. And Jesus took care of the rest. So my prayer for you this morning is if, you're in the midst of those waves, you're being tortured, you're being crushed, you're being just tossed around, that Jesus sees you, he knows you, and his desire is to walk on top of all the problems you have and bring you along in that journey. Will you pray with me? Jesus, it's a scary time right now. I mean, if I'm honest, it's hard not to be fearful. It's hard not to miss out on all the beautiful things that are happening in life because I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my job, or I'm afraid that the bottom is going to fall out from underneath. And in a way that you only know how to speak to us, God, may you remind us that you're actually there with us. Lord, I pray for that person who's here this morning, who's like silently just holding on, Lord, that you would call them out onto the water and that you would remind them of your strength, that you would remind them that you actually have them, that you actually hold them. And so, Spirit, in a way that you only know how to do, we ask, Lord, for you to meet them, Spirit, in their state now and stand them up and walk them to yourself. So, God, we thank you. We worship you because we recognize your greatness. We recognize the power that you have that we don't have, that we defer our hopes, our fears, our lack of strength, our lack of faith to you, and that you and only the ways you know how to do would just heal us, Lord, like your word would just be a balm for our souls and our hearts, a healing balm that erases our fears, that erases our doubt. And that as we worship you, God, as we worship you, as we make room in our hearts for you to do what you want to do, God, that you desire to do, God, that you would expand our faith. You would take our faith of a small mustard seed and you would grow it. You would grow it, Lord, to glorify yourself, but also to give us what we desire and need most, and that's you. So, God, we thank you. We are so grateful for you, and we worship you now. In Jesus' name, amen.